Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. Richie, we have a pretty packed schedule here. It's mostly all basketball. I think it's entirely basketball. I know Shiano speaks tomorrow, so we'll have something football related at the end of the week. Mm-hmm. But let's just start off right from the top. The Knight Society hosted an NIL event this past weekend called the Scarlet Open. It was at the Top Golf in Edison. It was basically the way it worked was they matched up players with groups of people, and they had a team competition. And I believe Gavin Griffiths led the team that ended up winning it. Correct. But tell us what you're hearing from how the event went, and just like what people said, and kind of the vibes around the first ever Scarlet Open.
Yeah, so everything that everyone's talking about, like a surround. Geez, I can't talk today. A big success, a very big success. Everyone loved it. I know our one of our guys, our writers, Alec, was there. He talked to Geo Baker, talked to a couple other people about the event, did a whole article on it. It sounds like it just went really, really well. Got the whole Rutgers fan base / alumni / everyone surrounding the Scarlet Knights athletics pretty much to get involved with this one too. Sean Tucker was there. I know a lot of the coaches were there. Steve Peichel, obviously. A couple other, the whole team was there, coaches, etc. It just seems like it was a really good event. You promote NIL a little bit because for people that don't know much about it, this kind of helps them to learn a little more. And this is kind of what NIL is about. It's supposed to be about events like this, bringing alumni together. And yeah, it's technically going to get the players a little bit of money, but it's not about paying the players to play the game. It's about getting them a little money on the side to do other stuff. But this was a cool event, it seemed like. It's not your typical golf outing because it was at Top Golf, and it's a little more challenging. You have to actually like aim a little bit, and instead of just going straight down the fairway. So yeah, it seems like everything went really well, and I think it was New Roads Financial who was the winner. Yeah, New Roads Financial was the winner. They had Gavin Griffiths on their team, who apparently is a really good golfer, from what I was told. So I mean, not too shocking there. I did see Cliff's golf swing on Alex's video, the one-handed golf swing, and I was like, oh, okay, what was that?
Yeah, he was doing the one-handed Bowser swing from Mario Golf, if anybody remembers that game from back in the day. I guess when you're that tall, it's kind of hard to fit in the tee box and to do an actual swing. Or maybe he just hadn't really played golf before. But yeah, I did see that too. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then if you read Alex's article, and he actually had he was part of the Riot Squad team, and they had Aiden Terry, and they figured the most logical situation being that you have to hit the ball in like one of the holes to get points was to hit as many balls as possible within that 20-minute time frame. And Aiden Terry ended up hitting 206 golf balls in 20 minutes. That's like, I don't even know what you do after like 20. I feel like I'm just tired. I'm like, geez, like he hit 200 in 20 minutes. Like, so it sounds like it was kind of like more fun than anything. It was a good event. Ron Harper Jr. had a cameo where he was shouted out. Everyone talked about Rutgers in general, NIL, and Knight Society. They had a silent auction that had like jerseys, signed shoes, photos, all kinds of memorabilia. And it, like I said, it just seems like a really good event, and it sounds like they want to do it again next year and make it even bigger. Maybe Top Golf again, because that's kind of a little different, and everyone can kind of participate versus like an actual golf outing where I mean you kind of have to know how to golf to do that.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, it sounds like this was a great event, and I'm sure they're going to do a lot more. And good start for Knight Society in terms of events this offseason. They've done a bunch of them already, so this is they're just going to keep piling on. So it seems like it was good.
Yeah, we both attended the watch party at in New Brunswick this past year for the Indiana game at the Olive Branch. Yep, and I thought that was a really well run event. Mm-hmm. Obviously the guys at the front office really know what they're doing, and they help they partner with the Knight Society to put these events on. And you spoke to one of the guys who runs the front office, and what did he say how the event went?
Yeah, so Pat Lawless is one of three guys, I believe, that run the front office. And same thing, they keep their Rutgers guys, their New Jersey guys actually more than anything, because they have a Seton Hall guy on board too, which is fine. But they run that Rutgers Seton Hall banquet every year. They're now helping Geo run all these events. They help them run the watch party. They're kind of helping people. No, I shouldn't say people. They're more mostly helping the Knight Society just to run these kind of events that help with NIL. And it's good to see stuff like this. I know there's been some complaining on the message boards and Discord and everything, but this is a good start, and I expect a lot more events going forward, especially with football season coming up, basketball season right behind that. It's going to be an interesting couple of months, I guess, for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that seems to kind of be the Knight Society's lane is holding these events. And it sounds like, they're thirsty for more. It sounds like Gio and Eric Legrand thought the event went really well. So look for that to happen again next year, and possibly other events like this. Because, I mean, these are the kind of things that really get people closer to the athletic department, when you can actually go and interact and spend a whole day with people, and that all the money is going to a good cause. They raised a lot of money this past weekend for the basketball program, and that'll be put to good use because, as we know, basically every player on the team was tampered with last year. So those funds are needed. So it's exciting to see Rutgers NIL war machine kind of, building up and starting to fire on, I wouldn't say all cylinders, but a lot of cylinders.
It's just good for everyone around. Like you said, it's good for fans to interact, but it's also like, if you see the one photo, like there's like a group of like five or six kids just watching Watt Mag swing and cheering them on and yelling the whole time. So it's good for like that, for them to get involved, and you start them out young as Rutgers fans, and then eventually become donors down the line.
Exactly. Yep. So great event. It'll help a lot with the basketball program. But speaking of the basketball program, we had a visitor on campus this past, I wouldn't say weekend, but I think his visit started on Sunday and ended today, or it's ending today, right? Jeremiah Williams, who is the wing out of Temple and Iowa State. What are you hearing about his recruitment and where Rutgers stands after this visit?
So it sounds like everything went really well so far. I know it's technically not officially over. I think it's over at like noonish today or whatever, because they get breakfast. I even think they might get lunch before they leave. But regardless, it sounds like everything went really well. It sounds like I'd be a little shocked if Jeremiah Williams doesn't end up with Scarlet at night. I know Pikel's really high on his defense. He's a really good on-ball defender when he was healthy. Mind you, he's missed less than a year with an Achilles injury. I don't expect him to be back this year. I shouldn't say be back this year. I don't expect him to be back ready to go for day one of the season. Could he come back mid-season? It's possible, but Achilles injuries are tough, man. They are brutal. I can't say from experience that I've had to deal with it, but like just looking based off, like I'm a Nets fan. Looking based off Kevin Durant. Durant sat out an entire year and a half, I think it was. A year and whatever. It was over a year. I know that.
Yep.
And that's Kevin Durant with the best medical training staff in probably the world, maybe.
Close to it.
The NBA training staffs are different. I'm sure he had his own doctors and all this rehab staff, and that's that. Like, this is college, which they still get a pretty good training staff. I think Richard Van Dyke is probably one of the best around, but it's still a year. It's going to take more than a year to get back on the court, and then to be comfortable back on the court too. That's why like everyone's like, Mag, back day one, and I'm like, you still got to get comfortable back on the court too. So that's another issue. But regardless, it does sound like Jeremiah Williams will become a Scarlet Knight. Will he play this year? Probably not. But I think next year he'd be a really good piece, especially around a potential lineup with a bunch of scorers like Gavin, Ace, Dylan, Harper. So it would make a lot of sense to get him in there because he is a good defender and he can score. It's not like he's just a defender. He averaged 9.5 points per game in his first 2 seasons with Temple. 3.5 rebounds, over 4 assists per game, shot 42%. His 3-point percentage kind of sucks at 26, but everything else, like it seems like he's a pretty damn good player, and he's from a notable high school too in Simeon out in Chicago. So that definitely doesn't hurt things.
No, it doesn't. There's a lot of basketball talent out at Simeon, and wouldn't hurt to get in there for sure.
It could be this could be Marlon Williamson's first edition since joining the staff, so this would be a big one for him.
It would be huge, and there's another Williams, I wouldn't say brother, but there's another Williams out there that Rutgers is recruiting that seems like they're doing really well with. Give us an update on where things stand with Austin Williams, the former Hartford guard.
Yeah, former Marist, Hartford, FIU guard, this guy. 7th-year transfer, like he's been around the block quite a few times now. He's finishing up a summer class. I believe it's at FIU. I haven't gotten confirmation on that, but I can't imagine it being anywhere else. Maybe one of the local schools. Probably not, though, but he's a New Jersey native, so he should get a waiver, no issue. I know he's a grad transfer, and you guys hear waiver. You still need one regardless. It's just a lot easier for grad transfers. They're just kind of like, here you go.
Yep.
So, yeah, his classes technically end, I'm looking now, it says the 26th or the 28th, depending on if he's in summer B or summer C. Regardless, those grades have to be submitted by July 31st at midnight. So when those grades are submitted, it probably takes a day or two for him to even pop up. So maybe you hear some info. Where's the 31st? This upcoming next Monday. Maybe you hear some info maybe next Wednesday. I do think he gets announced before this this trip comes to fruition overseas. They're going to Senegal and Portugal, but I do think he will also end up being a Scarlet Knight. And I'm personally in the boat of him being a starter. I know he didn't get any of the practice time. I think their practices actually start, what did I say, this week or next week? I forget when it is. But it's coming up soon, and maybe he might not get in all those 10 practices that they get to lead up to the trip. But I think when it's all said and done, between training camp, between overseas play, I think he's going to be a full-fledged starter for the Scarlet Knights this season.
Yeah, that'd be huge because Rutgers needs some offensive firepower, losing Cam Spencer, losing Paul Mulcahy. This pretty late in the process, so they definitely need some scoring, and he definitely brings that. That
was definitely kicking the balls. Not ideal to lose your top two or veteran players. I shouldn't say top two. Maybe your top player in May, and then your other player in July. Not good.
Yeah, nope. But I mean, if anybody can figure out, it's going to be Peichel, and I do think adding some of these guys like Noah Fernandes is not really kind of been, baked into the calculus enough. I think he was such a good addition, and we'll just see what the offense is going to look like, because there's going to be a lot of this 23-24 basketball team is going to look different than any Peichel-led team that he's had since he's been at Rutgers.
Yeah, hold on. You got the cat running on me now. Yeah. It's you probably saw in the background too. I saw him fighting. I'm like, oh god, I got muted. I'm like, geez.
All right. So one of the more interesting things that happened recently with Rutgers basketball is they offered a 5-star kid in July out of the class of 2024, pretty late in the process, in Asa Newell. We got pretty excited about it, and then I don't know. We kind of got some more information, and maybe things aren't really looking great for Rutgers there. What are you hearing about Asa Newell?
Yeah, it was a late offer. They offered him. It was Marlon Williamson. Marlon Williamson has a connection to his AAU program, and Asa Newell is actually an Athens, Georgia native, but he's playing down in Montverde Academy. He also moved to Florida. I think he was 13, 14, something like that. But yeah, it sounds like Rutgers is still a long shot. Although Asa and Ace Bailey were both hanging out at the Jason Tatum camp this past weekend together. I think we tweeted out a video of them to at Topgolf. They did a bunch of different stuff with that camp. It wasn't just basketball related, but you get to do a lot of cool stuff. So they did talk a little bit. Ace is obviously recruiting them to Rutgers. They want to get that Fab 5 level type class where you could have Dylan, Ace, Lathan, Bryce, and potentially Asa. I guess I should say potentially Dylan as well, because he technically didn't commit, but still feeling pretty good there. Regardless, it does sound like Asa is starting to lean a little bit elsewhere. I know he's been considered a Georgia lean for quite some time because his brother is a walk-on with the program currently. He's also an Athens, Georgia native, like I said before. He has, I believe he's taken a visit to Georgia already. Maybe not an official visit, but he has been there a couple times. He does have official visits set up to Gonzaga, actually starting today. As well as, what was the other two? It was Texas and Alabama. Alabama will be August 1st to the 3rd. Texas will be the 8th to the 10th. So he's still taking visits. There's still some time to kind of get in there with his recruitment. But as of right now, I'd expect him to end up at Georgia still. Could he go elsewhere? It's possible. Maybe Alabama makes a significant push, but I don't think this one's going to end up in Rutgers' favor, unfortunately. Which is fine. It doesn't really matter because you're probably going to get Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. So on top of that, you still have Bryce Storch, Lathan Somerville, Gavin Griffith is still on the team. So, I mean, not really too much to complain about if you're a Scarlet Knight fan, although it would have been kind of cool to get another top 10 player.
It would have been wild, but yeah, we'll be fine. It's a nice consolation prize to have two of the top, players in the country coming.
Yeah,
like you said, he was hanging out with Ace Bailey down at the Jason Tatum camp, and it sounds like Ace is currently helping out at the Rutgers basketball camp, or he's at Rutgers during the basketball camp.
He's supposed to be there today or tomorrow. I forget what day exactly, or when. I forget when the camp even starts, to be honest with you. But yeah, Ace is going to be on campus with his AAU coach. I'm sure he'll be hanging out with his good buddy Jamichael Davis. But yeah, he's supposed to be at the Steve Peichel camp. He'll be hanging out with the staff. I don't know if he's allowed to help technically because he's not a student or like a player. But he'll be there in some capacity. So for him to be in New Jersey again is always a good sign. He plans on signing in November, so you guys can relax. He's staying committed. He's not going anywhere. And here we go again. He's not going anywhere. He's firmly committed. So you guys can just relax with all the, oh my God, he didn't sign yet. Like let's not count our chicken or eggs before they're hatched, blah, blah, blah. But he's also apparently going to be at the CP3 camp at the end of the month, which starts August 25th, I believe. It is an invitation-only camp. I thought it was specifically guards for the most part, but from what I was told, it's also like big men too, kind of. I mean, Ace can kind of play anything he could probably play the one if you really wanted him to, but I'd say he's probably more of a 2 to 4. Other notable names that are going to be there include Jalen Green, Scoot Henderson, recent number 3 pick in the draft, and Chet Holmgren's supposed to be there. So it's going to be a significant camp, and it's also big because he's going to get to go talk to Dylan again, who's also going to be at the camp. So the fact that those two are going to get together again is a huge sign. Keep hearing good things. I have a future cast out. I'm pretty confident in it still. Nothing's changing. I'd actually be a little shocked if he didn't become a Scarlet Knight at this point in regards to Dylan Harper. So yeah, I mean, everything sounds pretty good. So we'll probably have more on Ace after his visit to campus this week, and then we'll try to sneak him in an article or two because he's got a busy schedule just like Dylan does. They're just bouncing around to different camps, this, that. So yeah, in terms of Asa Newell, probably not looking good, but Dylan Harper still looking good.
Yeah, so one guy that we've heard that might end up actually returning to Rutgers is former Rutgers basketball player Oskar Palmquist, who entered the transfer portal, ended up at Elon, and then re-entered the transfer portal. What are you hearing about Oskar and his chances of being a Scarlet Knight again?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I didn't see this one coming, but it sounds like Oskar will be back with the Scarlet Knights this season.
Wow.
I don't know when they're going to announce it. I mean, now that we're talking about it, you're kind of reminding me I have to get something prepared in case it does happen. But it sounds like he's going to return. He'll probably be the 13th scholarship technically if the two Williams brothers, if the two Williams is, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Yeah, we'll go with Williams is. That sounds about right. As long as both of them commit, he would be the 13th scholarship. So this is going to be the first time in a long time that Peichel's not used that 13th scholarship on a walk-on. So Peichel's a loyal guy through and through. I think he would always take one of his guys back if they ever needed, like couldn't find a place or whatever, and they had an open spot. So, and it kind of makes sense because if Mag's not fully healthy to start the season, you kind of need a 4-man, and Oskar could be decent. I'm not saying he's great. I'm not saying he's phenomenal. I think he's decent at best, and he's not awful. He did play some significant minutes down the stretch when Mag did go down. He filled in pretty nicely, and I think as a down the bench type guy for most of the season, I think this is a good addition. It's only going to be a 1-year guy. I know he technically has 2. Maybe enters the portal again next year and goes somewhere else, or maybe just says he's done. Because I know when he first entered the portal, it sounded like he was like fully on board on going back to Sweden and trying to play a professional ball over there because he was part of their under 17 team, under 16 team, whatever it was. Coming out of high school. So it wouldn't be shocking to see him go back over there and maybe go make some money in Europe. A tall shooter, not the most confident shooter in the world, but I think he could find that 3-point stroke if he needs to. So it'd be a more than welcomed addition, and I think it's probably more than likely going to happen.
Yeah, and everybody from what I've heard loves Oskar. He's just a great locker room guy, great teammate. I think Gio was saying it when we were talking to him, that basically like when you see a guy like Oskar putting in all that work, not complaining, just keeping his head down and doing everything asked of him, it's hard for the younger guys to kind of not do the same because they see this example from a guy like Oskar Palmquist, who's been here for now 4 years, and he's grinding, working on his game every day, and doesn't complain. He doesn't get minutes. He didn't play for like a whole month last year, and then when his number was called, he stepped in and performed pretty admirably for a guy who seemed to be cast off at some point in terms of minutes.
So I mean, you had him as a veteran. You get Jeremiah Williams, who's very well known from the Temple guys that I was talking to as a really good team player and a leader of guys. So it's all about culture at the end of the day. I know Peichel says it more than anyone, probably more than any other coach at least. It's all about fit. It's not about like, I could add the 5 stars here and there, but some of those 5 stars, as we've seen in this class specifically for 2024, aren't good fits. There's 5 stars. There's a 5-star that wanted to come on board to Rutgers, and they said basically, we're good. We already have our other 5-star. We're probably going to get that 5-star. So, we're okay. But so I mean, it's all about culture and it's all about fit at the end of the day. And I think Oskar Palmquist, as a down the bench type guy, fits your roster pretty perfectly right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Speaking of a down the bench guy, Antonio Chol participated in some events this summer and got a lot of hype. So just tell us what the event was and what you heard from the people who were there.
So it's called SO Elite Basketball. I want to say it stands for something different than just South, but I might be wrong. It just says SO Elite Basketball. I really don't know what it stands for, to be honest. I've never heard of it before until today, or I shouldn't say today, the other day. But they had a crazy training session where it featured some top college players, some top recruits. Like, I don't know if you guys remember Kurt Tang, a 2024 4-star guard that Rutgers has been after for a while and then went to Providence. I think Rutgers finished second in that race too, if I recall correctly. But he was there. There's a couple other players. There was a JUCO guy who stood out. There was, I think, a Norfolk State forward that stood out too. But I was talking to the guys that run the showcase camp training session, whatever you want to call it. And they were hyping up Antonio Chol quite a bit. They said he put on a ton of weight over the offseason. He's matured a lot because they've seen him last year and they compared to this year. And he was easily one of the best players at the camp, which is always a good sign. He shot the lights out, which is kind of what we've heard last offseason too. He's been a really good 3-point shooter. I know after talking to people last training camp, they obviously stat all the shooting throughout training camp and just practice in general. And he was the highest percentage 3-point shooter. So that's something to remember. He plays above the rim, was really good defensively on the big men, but he also was able to switch to guards at times because he is that lengthy and he's not the quickest guy in the world. He can be. He just needs to work on his footwork a little bit. This is based off what I saw last year, but they hyped him up as a really good defender and able to switch on guards or big men or forwards or whatever. He can kind of guard it all. But I think he's going to play some serious. I shouldn't say serious. He'll play some solid minutes this year. So, I mean, especially with Mag also wanting to play some 3 this year, and Mag still not being fully ready to go, in my opinion, for day one. I think you'll probably see a little bit of Chol, especially in the out-of-conference play. So, it's a good sign to see him lighten up this showcase camp or whatever.
Yeah, I do think that if Rutgers hits their ceiling this year, like an NCAA tournament team with, some dangerous offensive upside, I think it's going to be in part because Antonio Chol kind of takes that next step. He's a guy that Rutgers really kind of needs at this point. And so it's good to hear that he's making progress. He's transforming his body because, like you said, defense and threes, that's the modern player, lengthy defensive, can play good defense and can shoot from beyond the arc. That's the kind of player everybody wants. So great to hear positive vibes coming from the Antonio Chol camp.
Yeah, he was such a late addition too. So if you get a significant year or 2 out of him, that's a win in my book. If you get more than that, and he redshirted last year, if you get 4 years out of him and he's good every single year, that's huge. That's a huge win. Other than that, I wanted to mention something else about the team that I found out. Emmanuel Ogbol suffered an injury at JUCO, I was told, and he's still not fully healthy. So it sounds like he's probably not going to be a full go for the overseas trip. He will be with them from what I was told, but he's probably not going to be a full go at all. He might not even play at all, to be honest. So something to keep a note on. You'll probably see more Woolfolk at the big man spot, maybe some Chol if you're going to play some small ball just for shits and giggles, because I don't know how good these teams are that they're playing, or how big they are either, I should say. But Yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on. You might see a lot of Chol in these stat lines at least, because I'm not sure how much film we're going to be able to get, but we'll definitely have stat lines from every game.
Yeah, we've been pushing for Twitch streams of the games or live YouTube video, but I can understand if they don't want to do that or if they just haven't prepared to do it. But yeah, hopefully we get something other than stat lines, like you said.
Yeah, I think. Oh well, they're going to bring their cameraman. They're going to get some film, but it's not going to be like full on like live stream. So you're not going to be able to watch the game in real time. You're going to get it like highlights a day later, 2 days later, whatever.
Got it.
So here's what it is.
Well, that's basically all I got. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up before we head out today?
No, I mean, stay tuned on the website. If you don't know it already, it's rutgers.rivals.com. We'll have tons of stuff tomorrow specifically because it's going to be media day and Rutgers speaks tomorrow at day one. I don't know if Greg Schiano's going to say anything significant. I think it's just going to be the basic stuff. It's going to probably hype up Gavin Wimsatt as quarterback, talk about Shiraka, stealing him from Minnesota. He won't say that, but we'll talk about how Shiraka is a veteran. It's going to be a lot of coach speak, so don't expect like a ton. But we will have a bunch of articles and stuff and videos and all that other good stuff. And then camp starts, a week from today? No. What's today, 25th? It's pretty close to a week. So it's getting close. We're getting really close to football season, and we're going to have to start doing some football preview stuff. I know we've talked about hoops nonstop for the past 2 months, but football is here pretty much. So get ready, get hyped. Let's see what Rutgers can do this season. And I'm sure we'll do like a season preview and all that good stuff later on in probably August. But for now, that's all we really got.
All right, guys. Well, thank you once again for listening. This has been another edition of the Net Report podcast. Signing off.